Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be looking at another component of CSEC Paper 2, Reading Comprehension. Let's get started. First, we're going to look at some reading comprehension tips. Number 1, expand your vocabulary. If you want to be able to understand what you read in a reading comprehension, it's important to expand your vocabulary. If your vocabulary is limited, it's going to be difficult to understand what you're reading. Try to learn new words and phrases every day. There are lots of ways to learn new words and phrases in French. You can listen to music and learn the lyrics of your favorite songs. Playing word games like crossword puzzles and word searches can be both fun and educational. Reading books can also be used to enrich your vocabulary. So guys, very important. Expanding your vocabulary is very essential because, as mentioned here, if you don't have a lot of vocabulary, you're going to struggle. And some ways that you can build your vocabulary, learning new words and phrases, as mentioned here, you can listen to music and learn the lyrics, play word games like crossword puzzles or word searches, or you can read books. These are ways that you can use to enrich your vocabulary because it's very essential to expand your vocabulary. Otherwise, you are going to struggle. I hope that is clear. Let's move on. Number 2, practice reading regularly. Practice reading French text regularly to improve your comprehension skills. Begin with shorter texts and gradually progress to longer passages. Dedicate a consistent amount of time each day or week to this practice to see steady improvement. Consider starting with resources like Easy French Reader, which offers simplified grammar and content that is easy to read and understand. And by the way, guys, if you need this resource, if you need this book, just send me a message at thateasylanguage@gmail.com. So let's continue. Be sure to diversify your reading materials to include memes, comics, novels, and other forms of literature in your target language. Exposing yourself to various types of content will enhance your comprehension skills and familiarity with different styles of writing. I hope this is clear. So make sure you have different types of reading material to improve your vocabulary. Memes, something very short and usually something very funny. Comments, a lot of people grow up reading comments. Why not read a comment in French? Novels and other forms of literature. So these are some of the different kind of reading materials that you can use to practice reading regularly and also to expand your vocabulary. So let's continue. Question analysis. Pay close attention to the questions and understand what they are asking for before attempting to answer them. Also, please note that questions can serve as a guide to understanding what the passage is about. Questions can prompt you to look for specific vocabulary within the passage. All right, so let's take a look at this example that I have here. We have a passage to the left with comprehension questions, and we have the analysis to the right. So let's look at the passage first. The title is A Day at the Beach. And the passage says, C'était une belle journée à la plage. Julie et ses amis étaient très contents. À leur arrivée, ils ont mis leurs serviettes sur le sable. Julie ramassait des coquillages pendant que ses amis jouaient au foot. Ensuite, ils ont nagé et se sont amusés dans l'eau. Après, ils ont mangé des sandwichs et des fruits. Puis, ils ont fait des châteaux de sable et ont marché le long de la plage. C'était une journée amusante avec beaucoup de soleil et de jeux. Comprehension questions. Number 1. What did Julie and her friends do when they arrived at the beach? Number 2. What games did they play at the beach? So let's take a look at our analysis. Number 1. Questions can serve as a guide to understanding what the passage is about. This statement suggests that questions can help readers grasp the main ideas or themes of the passage. In this case, question 1, what did Julie and her friends do when they arrived at the beach? This question serves as a guide to understanding the initial activities of Julie and her friends upon arriving at the beach. By answering this question, readers focus on the passage's introduction and gain insight into the overall theme of a day at the beach and the activities involved. I hope that part is clear so far. Number 2, questions can prompt you to look for specific vocabulary within the passage. This statement suggests that questions can direct readers to pay attention to specific words or phrases in the text. In this case, question 2, what games did they play at the beach? This question prompts readers to identify and focus on the specific vocabulary related to games mentioned in the passage. By answering this question, readers search for terms like jouer au foot, played football, within the passage, enhancing their understanding of the recreational activities described. I hope that this analysis was able to make everything clear when I said questions can serve as a guide to understanding what the passage is about, and also when I said questions can prompt you to look for specific vocabulary within the passage. If you're still having a little difficulty, you can pause the video here and take a look at the passage to the left and the questions at the bottom, and you can look at the analysis to the right. And if you have any further questions, you can always email me at thateasylanguage@gmail.com. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Number 4, focus on key information. Find the main ideas, supporting details, and important words in the text. This means actively engaging with the material to spot the most important parts. Main ideas are the main themes, while supporting details give examples or evidence. Also pay attention to important words to understand their meaning. Using highlighting and underlining can help Separate these parts visually and make them easier to understand. By marking key points, you can stay focused and remember what's important as you read. So every time you read a passage for your reading comprehension, make sure you look to identify the main ideas and also the supporting details to the main ideas. So for example, it could be, the main idea could be, I was happy about traveling to Martinique. And the supporting details would be like, for example, I was smiling as I was entering the plane, things like that. That would be supporting details because it shows that I was happy, to be traveling to Martinique. I hope that is clear. Let us continue. Number 5, look for context clues. Master the skill of identifying and utilizing context clues to grasp the meaning of unfamiliar words or phrases in a given text. Often you can deduce their meanings by considering their context in relation to the words you already understand. Understanding the context in which a word is used can often help determine its meaning, or familiar words that can have different meanings in different contexts. Now let's look at the example below. So to the left, this is an excerpt of the passage that we're going to look at later. Maybe this is counterproductive, but this is to help you understand the point that I was trying to make. So from the excerpt of the text, it says, Hier matin, j'ai passé une mauvaise journée. Je suis arrivé à l'aéroport en retard parce que la voiture de mon mari était tombée en panne. Pour éviter de manquer mon vol, j'ai pris un taxi et cela m'a coûté très cher. So, context clues. Passer une mauvaise journée. Had a bad day. This phrase informs us that the speaker experienced difficulties or unpleasant events throughout the day. Next point. Arrivé à l'aéroport en retard. Arrived at the airport late. This phrase suggests that the speaker arrived at the airport behind schedule. Moving on to the next one. J'ai pris un taxi. I took a taxi. This part describes the action the speaker took to remedy the situation, indicating that they opted for a taxi as an alternative mode of transportation. Cela m'a coûté très cher. It cost me a lot. This indicates the consequence of taking the taxi, suggesting that it was expensive. In this context, even if you encounter the unfamiliar phrase, était tombé en panne, broken down, you can deduce its meaning from the context. It means that the car stopped working unexpectedly. So taking all of these different phrases within this paragraph into consideration, we can deduce that tomber en panne means broke down. I hope that is clear. Even for example, the word passé. The word passé means to spend. But this word passé, right? This word usually means to spend or to pass. To spend in terms of spend time or to pass. But in the context in which it is used, it means had. So, j'ai passé une mauvaise journée. I had a bad day. I hope this is clear. Let's move on to the next one. Number 6, multiple readings. Make sure to read the text multiple times if needed, so you can understand what the text is about. Reviewing the material several times helps you get a better grasp of it. Each time you read, you might notice things you missed before. This way, you'll remember the content better and be able to understand it more deeply. I think this one is pretty straightforward. Let's move on to the next one. Number 7, manage time effectively. During exams, it's crucial to manage your time wisely. Assign specific time slots for each question. This helps you to have enough time to finish the whole section. Following this plan keeps you on track and boosts your chances of success. Something to note, strive to limit the time spent on questions where you're unable to find the answer within a set time frame. If you can't find an answer within the allotted time, move on to the next question. You can always revisit it later if time allows. So guys, whenever you are doing a reading comprehension, put a time limit for answering each question. And if you are unable to answer that question within that specific time limit, move on to a next question rather than trying to find the answer for that question and wasting a lot of the time that you have in the exam. Just keep that in mind, please. So, I think that is clear. Let us move on. So now we're going to do some reading comprehension practice. Here are some vital rules to follow before we look at the reading comprehension practice. Number 1, all responses must be given in English. English, not French. All responses must be given in English. Do you understand? No français. Anglais seulement. No French at all, just English. For the reading comprehension, all responses must be in English. Do not give a single response in French. Number 2, use complete sentences. Guys, please do not use incomplete sentences. If the question asks you, what places did Arnold visit in France during his stay? You're not just going to say, oh, the Eiffel Tower, La Seine, and Le Louvre. We want a complete sentence. The 3 places that Arnold visited during his stay in France was the Eiffel Tower, Le Louvre, and La Seine. Okay, I hope that is clear. Number 3, give the exact amount of information that each question requires you to provide. Example, if a question asks you to give 2 reasons why George can't go to the party, don't write one. In other words, if the question asks you to list the 2 reasons why George can't go to the party, don't say, okay, George can't go to the party because his mother said so. Where's the other reason? That's only one. If they ask you to list 2 things, it's possible that that question is going to give you 2 marks. So don't give one response, okay? I hope that is clear, guys. Let us move on. Now for our reading comprehension practice. This is a reading comprehension that I created. In this lesson, I'm not using a CSEC past paper question like I did with the contextual dialogue, directed situations, and also letter writing. The reason I am doing this is because honestly, your reading comprehension is going to be different every year. And from what I remember seeing, every passage is not the same. So it really doesn't matter what you get as a reading comprehension for your reading comprehension practice. The important part is to practice the reading comprehension and to expand your vocabulary. Okay? So now let's look at the passage. The passage says,
Hier matin, j'ai passé une mauvaise journée. Je suis arrivé à l'aéroport en retard parce que la voiture de mon mari était tombée en panne. Pour éviter de manquer mon vol, j'ai pris un taxi et cela m'a coûté très cher. À mon arrivée, je suis allé directement au comptoir et là, j'ai constaté que je n'avais pas mon passeport. En fait, j'ai oublié mon passeport dans la voiture de mon mari. Quelle horreur! J'ai fini par manquer mon vol et j'ai commencé à pleurer. Ensuite, une représentante de la compagnie aérienne a essayé de me consoler et elle m'a aidé à obtenir un billet d'avion pour le lendemain. Après, je me suis senti soulagé. Je l'ai remercié et je suis rentré chez moi. Mais je ne savais pas que le pire était à venir. De retour à la maison, j'ai remarqué que le nom écrit sur le billet n'était pas le mien. Quel cauchemar!
all right, so that was the passage. This passage, as you can see here, is entitled Cecile's Horrible Day. Now let's look at the questions. Number 1 says, how did Cecile describe her day? Now, this question is prompting us to look for specific vocabulary in the passage because it's asking us, how did Cecile describe her day? So we're going to look in the passage where she talks about her day. And the word we find for day in French is journée. And in this sentence where day is used, Cecile says, or she said, j'ai passé une mauvaise journée, which means I had a bad day. So Cecile described her day as unpleasant, as bad, as terrible, etc. And that's how she described her day. So this question prompts us to look for vocabulary where we would find day, and this is what we have found. Hope that is clear. Now, question number 2. Why did she get to the airport late? Now, just like question number 1, this question is prompting us to look for specific vocabulary in the passage. So, get to the airport late. That is what we're going to be looking for. And it's asking us why. So we also have to look for the vocabulary or the phrase that is going to indicate the reason why she got to the airport late. So, get to the airport late. When we look in the passage here, we see the sentence, Je suis arrivé à l'aéroport en retard. So this is the correct thing that we need to look for. Parce que is the phrase that introduces the reason. And her reason, according to her, is La voiture de mon mari était tombée en panne. So the reason she got to the airport late is because her husband's car had broken down. La voiture, and that's what la voiture de mon mari était tombée en panne means. My husband's car had broken down. So that is the reason why she got to the airport late. Number 3, what did she take in order not to miss her flight? Was it cheap? This question here is prompting us to look for vocabulary about her, the action that she took in order to avoid missing her flight, and is asking us, was it cheap? So let's look for the vocabulary. As you can see here, pour éviter means in order to avoid. Manquer mon vol. So in order to avoid missing my flight. J'ai pris un taxi et cela m'a coûté très cher. I took a taxi and it costed me a lot, or it was very expensive. Remember, you have to write that in a full sentence. So you can write something like, in an attempt to not miss her flight, she took a taxi and it was expensive. All right, number 4, what did Cecile realize when she got to the check-in counter? So this is prompting us to look for vocabulary in relation to the check-in counter and what she realized. So this is very specific vocabulary that we have to look for. So when you look at the passage here, which mentions when she got to the airport, it says, à mon arrivée, je suis allé directement au comptoir. The word comptoir refers to the counter. And in the context of the airport, this would be the check-in counter. Et là, and there, j'ai constaté, I realized que je n'avais pas mon passeport. So we have what she realized here. So it says, j'ai constaté, I realized que je n'avais pas mon passeport. I realized that I didn't have my passport. So this is the answer for number 4. Number 5, where did she forget her passport? So we're going to look for the vocabulary related to where she forgot her passport. So after she mentioned she didn't have her passport, we see here in the passage, she said, en fait, j'ai oublié mon passeport dans la voiture de mon mari. This is the vocabulary here for I forgot my passport. So we know whatever she's mentioning here, it will be the location where she forgot her passport. And it says, as we can see after she says, I forgot my passport. She says, dans la voiture de mon mari, in my husband's car. So that's where she forgot her passport. Number 6, what did she do when she ended up missing her flight? Ended up missing her flight. The question is prompting us to look for that specific vocabulary, ended up missing. And in the passage, we can see it here. J'ai fini par manquer. This phrase here, j'ai fini par is I ended up, and when you add a verb after that is doing something. I ended up doing something. So in this context here, is j'ai fini par manquer mon vol. I ended up missing my flight et j'ai commencé à pleurer. And I began to cry. So what did she do when she ended up missing her flight? She began to cry. That's what she did, according to the passage. Number 7, who tried to console her? This question is also prompting us to look for specific vocabulary in the passage. Who tried to console her? So let's look for the word console. And when we look for it, we see it here. Consoler. And with that, we can find out who tried to console her. So if we look at from the beginning of the sentence, it says ensuite, une représentante de la compagnie aérienne a essayé de me consoler et elle m'a aidé à obtenir un billet d'avion pour le lendemain. So here it says, a representative from the airline tried to console me. So that's the person who tried to console her, a representative from the airline. Number 8, how did she feel after she got a new plane ticket? Okay, let's see where it mentions a new plane ticket. After it mentions that an airline representative tried to console her, et elle m'a aidé à obtenir un billet d'avion pour le lendemain. She helped me to obtain a plane ticket for the following day. Okay, so that doesn't tell us how she felt. So let's continue reading. Après, je me suis senti soulagée. Okay, so there is where we have how she felt after she got a new plane ticket. It says, après, je me suis senti soulagée. So after that, I felt relieved. So that's how she felt after she got the new plane ticket. Number 9, what did she do after she got the plane ticket? So let's read that sentence again. Après, je me suis senti soulagé. Je l'ai remercié et je suis rentré chez moi. After that, I felt relieved. I thanked her and I returned home. So that's what she did after she got the plane ticket. She thanked the lady and she returned home. So that's what she did. I hope that is clear so far. Now for our final question. What did Cecile notice when she got home? So let's read the final paragraph. It says, je ne savais pas que le pire était à venir. De retour à la maison, j'ai remarqué que le nom écrit sur le billet n'était pas le mien. Quel cauchemar! So she says here in the last paragraph, but I didn't know that the worst was yet to come. Upon returning home, I realized or I noticed that the name written on the ticket was not mine. So that is what she noticed when she got home. When she got home, she noticed that the name written on the ticket, on the plane ticket, was not hers. So that's what she noticed when she got home. So always remember, guys, when you're giving responses for these questions, please give complete sentences. So for example, for this question, you're going to say, when Cecile got home, she noticed that the name written on the ticket was not hers. So remember at all time, guys, please use complete sentences. Please remember to use complete sentences. Okay? So that's it, guys. That's it. That's the end of our lesson today. Got to big up on Splash every time for all the wonderful images that you see in this PowerPoint presentation. You understand? Merci pour votre attention et à plus.
No way.